Once again, thank you for inviting me to speak at this virtual event. I am very grateful that you are all giving me your time to deliver this presentation, and I hope you will find this insightful and beneficial during the next 20 minutes or so. And I will do my best, absolute best, to help you understand and vision the importance of being agile in projects during hard times such as COVID-19 crisis. Incidentally, this is my first engagement in SCS, and I'm looking forward to the future interactions through meaningful connections. A little bit of background about myself. I've been in Singapore for 26 years, and 24 of those have been in the education industry. I spent my career in Singapore MOE School, Polytechnic, and now in NTU. I've been in NTU for over 16 months, so I'm quite a newbie. And my time here has been really fulfilling, challenging, and fruitful. But I do have to say that I'd like to extend my appreciation to my amazing colleagues and leaders that have been very supportive and enriching, more so than I ever expected and imagined. So if you look at this look at the slide, the title is Agility to Support xFH. That means X meaning to teach, work, and learn. In the context of education and NTU. I did contemplate on putting in play, but seriously, during that period, I had no time to play. So I took out the play. So I'll go on to the next slide. I belong in the Center for IT Services, which is headed by our CIO, Mr. Alvin Ong. And CITS manages the campus-wide IT infrastructure, cybersecurity, and facilitates to all enterprise IT as well as learning tech and digital media. So if you look at the last few words, learning tech and digital media, that's where I am heading the team. So LTDM. So I will reference learning tech and digital media as LTDM from this point on. Okay, so in the time, I mean, I could talk the next 3 hours about what I do, but I do have 15 minutes or so. So I'm just gonna dive straight into a very important and pivotal initiative in 2015 that NTU had decided on. And the aim of this project is to transform the undergraduate courses and support basically, and also to infuse learning tech into the curriculum, into the delivery of courses, embracing technology-enhanced learning. And that's what the next acronym is. It's called TEL or TEL. And our team here invests all of the time in the following 3 areas: content development and management. This is e-content. And the content would sit on top of learning platforms and also leveraging on the infrastructures that we have in NTU. And also we do outreach, professional development, such as training to our faculty members and also to our admin staff as well. In LTDM, or Learning Tech and Digital Media, we really had to, during this crisis, practice very agile and adaptive way of doing things. And this unit that is under my care is really responsible for campus-wide digital courseware, management of learning platforms and systems, which both are under that TEL initiative, okay? During the COVID-19 crisis, which really started at the end of February, we were already thinking of what to do, predicting how bad it's going to be, but we really did not expect it would be like this. The 4 main areas of support services that were heightened to serve our stakeholders here, which needed really agile approaches and quick transformation to serve our stakeholders. The 4 areas are the following. The first one is course content, design, and production. Our instructional learning designers, and we have close to about 12 of them, their communication skills really had to be extended and leveled up in the virtual space, especially when the human face-to-face interactions were no longer there and we had to all work from home. The way in which they had to do the work to describe production approaches for course development and demonstrations of using tools within the course development process were now really flattened to a two-dimensional computer screen. And communication using virtual conference tools such as what we're using today, Zoom or Microsoft Teams, we all were subjected by varying internet bandwidth qualities from home, based on our learners, based on our staff. And if you recall, there was some disruption from the telcos and so on, and that, even for that short time, was really, really difficult. On top of all that, there were really little references or industry best practices for training our faculty to use real-time synchronous tools and catering to the various possible pedagogical approaches that each school or college had. So School of Engineering or College of Engineering were very different from the humanities school and so on and so forth. So we had a set of tools that had to cater to so many different types of instructional approaches. So from the experience, the best motivating factor for all the parties to adapt was the fact that we had common problems. We had the same common problems to solve, and that is to reach the learning outcomes for our students. And with that in mind, and immediately, this sense of heightened engagement and mutual accountability and also respect really cut the clutter to streamline on doing the must-do tasks or the must-learn tasks. Our teaching staff had to be learners. We were teaching them how to use the tools, and we also had to learn how to teach over time and quickly. Due to this really unexpected crisis arising quickly from February onwards, much of the projects were refocused on translating traditional lessons and assessments to digital format. The requirements to mirror the physical environment was extremely challenging with the tools that we have. Mainly for, this is the most challenging part, was for remote e-proctoring and authentication of students during high-stake e-exams. How do we know that is a student? So we had some form of remote real-time proctoring, and it was very labor-intensive, very much dependent on technology and stable network. We had used Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Blackboard Collaborate Ultra to work with lockdown browsers, for instance, so they can actually conduct their exams. And over time, we did adapt, and this time was very short, within a few weeks. We had to publish an e-exam info kit to both students and faculty. And the revisions were updated constantly through the lessons gained from each exam that was conducted throughout the weeks. And I would say really certain softwares and platforms really helped us out to push all of this knowledge and the change management to our stakeholders. And if you look at instructional video production on the next slide, NTU prides itself with the adoption of flipped classroom pedagogical approach. This actually kicked off as far back as 2015. To support all of the course development using streaming of videos to students, the support it required were production studios of the past. Traditionally, we had 12 production studios. We had lots of staff to help them out. We had a pretty effective video streaming platform and lots of project management skills to coordinate the dozens of faculty that we had to really support during this time. And the third one is learning platform operations. Our main learning management system, it's called NTU Learn. It's our campus primary platform to gain access to digital learning content, and along with no less than 8 other subsystems to serve teaching and learning 24/7. Now, to support the maintenance of all platforms during this period, continuous projects were rolled out to update and patch systems for optimal usage and minimizing any unsavory cyber attacks, for instance. Um, this is especially important during this time, this crisis, due to the increased demand for home-based learning. And we really had to uphold service availability, more so than before. And the last one, virtual events. Now, you may ask, why are you doing virtual events? Well, my unit also included digital media for creative production. And we also had to be agile and transform from there. There were so many traditional physical events that we had thought they would be canceled or deferred, such as convocation, uh, uh, open house, and so on. However, as you will see later in the later slides, NTU really prevailed and was courageous to convert them to 100% virtual events. And they were successful, but it was just so challenging. We never got a good night's sleep for those past few months. And if any of the NTU colleagues in here, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. Let me, oh, somehow it's kind of locked up. Hold on, please. Okay. Let's look at this. I'm going to go through from this point on quite quickly. Okay. Course content design, which was the first line in previous slide. Our designers really needed to communicate better and also in a different way, which I don't think any professional development could have prepared them. They just really had to step up. They had to have a higher level of engagement and fluid communication with all of our faculty members. Rapid knowledge of industry best practices, if any, in using. Now, there were some universities that were quite fast in publishing and sharing through YouTube and other forms, and that's where there were some references, but we still had to contextualize it back into NTU. We had to quickly adapt to how virtual synchronous lesson delivery tools are done for all different sizes. Now imagine we had lectures of over 1,300 students at one time, and we had to adopt which tool is best, which tool would simulate the collaboration and the type of pedagogical approaches that each instructor wanted. And like what I said again earlier, continuing and also high stake assessments were very challenging. And we had to every day probably met twice, scrum together and say, okay, what are we doing for these next 2 or 3 courses that's happening with e-assessments tomorrow? And the days were long, but the days went past very fast as well. Now, we have 43 lecture theaters. Now, every single lectures in the past were recorded as they were delivered by our professors. And it would be automatically recorded and sent up to our video streaming server for later viewing. Now, that had to transform. All of our live lecture recordings on campus now had to be done from home. And later on, I would describe, because we had to be very quickly to adjust, and how do we support our professors from home to deliver their lessons, okay? So what are some of the agile project management implications here? Learn fast to become trainers for our learners, and our learners for our professors. And as we were training, we were also learning. And we position every single type of project with a faculty that it's a pilot, we do it as one. So that upheld our culture that we're more cohesive. Communications had to be more fluid. Excuse me. Number of project tasks while we're managing it were the same, but the engagement level had to be much better. And instead of I talk to you face to face, but it may now take 3 different short sessions over MS Teams or Zoom just to get that same point across. We took calculated risk and made known to our faculty right from the start. So they understood what were the real risks, what were the random risks, and what are things that can be controlled or not controlled. And that itself promoted positive relationships. And till today, I think we build a much better relationship with our professors than we did actually in face-to-face. For instructional lesson video production, we have traditionally, or before COVID, we still have it, but it's basically now pretty well unused for lessons. We have 12 media recording studios across NTU, and we have a pretty big campus. And previously, staff and faculty members were accustomed to producing work on campus ground, but now it has to change. So what were those implications? Staff that depended on producing work, and some of our staff have been here for 20 years, and they've been doing it in campus, needed to adapt quickly with little or no industry references. We had to create our own references that would be in the right context for our teaching and learning. Mindsets had to be changed, and that mindset had to be distilled down to at the operation level. Communication, again, was the most challenging, even within team members, because they had no experience of how to communicate virtually and from home, and with the kids screaming in the background and internet connections and so on and so forth. Project management activities were revised on a weekly or on project basis, and a project can last from 1 day all the way up to even 2 weeks. We just had to adapt to continuous learning and fine-tuning over time. Now, I think probably enough of me talking. I'm going to show you a video. This was a video, okay, I will share with you a video that we had created to have our teaching staff gain awareness of our lesson video production services, our support to teach from home effectively. In this video, you will see the contrasting difference between the traditional campus production versus teaching from home production. Now, all of my team members in this video were, I think, quite amazing. I didn't even know they were doing this in the background until they say, hey, you want to have a look? And we're planning to share this with our faculty members. And I just want, it's a short clip. However, you will see the difference of what happened before and what happened now. Okay, so I'm just going to play this. Okay, I hope you had enjoyed that. I think it was such, I was really happy to see that video because it really showed that this is what we can do and there's no compromise and business as usual. I'm going to talk about now the next team that I have, which is Learning Platform. I'm going to quickly go through this. And in delivering home-based learning, we had to use quite a bit of our video streaming services and learning platforms. And the implications for this is that we need to really have a good relationship with our SaaS partners and also how we maintain our systems on premise. And this and the implication is that service availability had to be up. We had to understand our demand and predict our future demands and ensuring that any upsizing, auto scaling of our servers would be done. And this was actually the smoothest period where our systems basically perform as we expected. And we hope that in the future it will continue. Now, my last team, which is digital media and events. All essential university events were converted to 100% virtual. We had photography before, where a photographer would snap up pictures in physical events, and that decreased substantially. Our videography and post-production increased with the repurposing of virtual live event productions. Our photographers had to learn new skills. If not, he or she would know that they're no longer in demand. So that itself had, those people had shared the same type of enthusiasm for them to learn new skills. And the demands were just increasing week by week until our own digital media staff team was just overloaded. And we also had to train our other unit teams to also fill in the gaps as well. Now, within, I think, from February all the way to July, and in our pipeline to this month, we actually completed 38 virtual events. And some of them I want to note is the National Day Observance Awards. Skills Future is a national event hosted in NTU. Virtual celebration of our graduates. NTU Freshman Welcome. These are all high impact events. And the only way that we really had, well, we had no other way is that we had to deliver it. And people's skills were actually adapted, they were changed, and they were changed month by month. We had to unlearn, relearn, and consolidate skills to meet the event goals. We had scrums in the digital media team daily or even twice daily just to get the job done. So I'm almost done, okay? For the project and operational administration, actually, it was also very smooth. There was only one that was still on paper. That was monthly salary payment for our contract staff with our external agency. And it was just the right time that we had adopted Adobe Sign service. They were time critical to approve these invoices because things were slightly slower in terms of processing, but we used to have a stack, and I measured it each month, a stack of paper that would be 4 to 5 centimeters thick, just timesheets and so on. And it was painful to approve. And we had to clear 4 people to approve all of these invoices. Now with the Adobe Sign service, it is so much faster. And I would say probably cut half the time, and we did it from home. Now, everything else, in terms of HR, project management, we use ServiceNow, and financial type of raising PRs and approving procurements and so on, were all done in the cloud with Workday, ServiceNow, and Ariba platform. So what are implications? Is that enterprise SaaS platforms really made project management painless, and our business as usual experiences extremely effective for basically from home. So I was really grateful that we had this set up in NTU. And this is just a sample, our typical Adobe Sign. and it comes to me by email, and I have a look, and all digital. I could even do it on my mobile device, on my iPad, and go through all the invoices and so on, and just sign, and it shoots off. So very grateful of this platform. So overall speaking, what are the lessons learned? Skills to be broadened and sharpened. It's an M shape. We're no longer the T shape. Processes have to be adapted for moving targets, and expectations also have to be adapted over time. Tiered leadership and apprentice, and I just want to note this because although there are leaders, there are managers, but a lot of times we're also learning, and it just seems like it was a very flat organization at times. And everyone became an apprentice of something if you want to cross over and learn something new. Know ahead of your platforms and what it does. And I think that's the greatest thing that we did. We had a lot of professional development for various administrative platforms and made us prepared to work from home. Most important is to cultivate an agile mindset for situational factors that we cannot control. And there could be new ones in the future time, because this agility really provides the rhythm and cadence for work. It allows quick shifts to adjust for prioritization. Empower to all staff levels. Like, you know, we have various staff levels and we all treated them as if we were one. And I think that itself had built up the accountability and ownership across all levels. Okay. I just want to show this. I'm a big believer of the so-called M shape. It's no longer just a breadth and depth, because over time you need to relearn, unlearn, and learn new type of specialties and expertise. Okay, so I think I am, my final words. In summary, the topic of this talk, agility to support xFH, it is really the unknown situation that we're currently facing have propelled my staff in reaching the highest potential. And some of them were not as accustomed to it, but they know that they need to change over time. The bar raising moments were those who had the right skills to develop over time, that had developed over time. And more importantly, the positive mindset and the grit to never give up, to gain new skills over time. Now, for students, learning from home was mostly different for them in the area of high-stake assessments. Okay. Oh, I'm just sorry about that. Okay. And for teaching staff, COVID crisis had the largest impact for them due to the rapid adoption of new instructional methodologies and ensuring that learning outcomes are achieved with additional types of new technology interventions. Really, so therefore, really, I salute to our students, faculty, and also staff, because they have been practicing agility to reach the NTU education goals. With this, I am now concluding my session, and I thank you for your time to endure this virtual presentation. Thank you.